Intense suffering often creates a chilling sense of divine abandonment. You pray, you wait, and the silence only grows heavier. Psalm 13 opens with a writer trapped in silence. 4 times they repeat the cry, "How long?" This repetition creates a staircase effect. The volume increases with every line, making the complaints heavier and more urgent as they mount. This structure reveals a writer fighting for survival against an overwhelming silence. The first 2 complaints define the crisis. The psalmist feels neglected, a sin of omission, then accuses God of a sin of commission, intentionally hiding his face. The final lines shift. The writer drowns in internal turmoil, while an external enemy prepares to win. These verses demonstrate the mechanics of lament, the choice to hold on to a God who appears absent. Directing this intense level of despair toward heaven proves that faith is still actively engaged in the struggle. In stanza 2, the psalmist moves from describing the crisis to making direct demands of God. The structure of these demands mirrors the earlier complaints. The request to look answers the complaint that God was hidden. The plea for light answers the internal sorrow. The warning of the enemy's triumph answers the threat of adversaries. 3 urgent imperative verbs anchor the prayer: look, answer, give light. Hasselbullock notes these demands are tethered to the word lest. Give light, lest I sleep in death. Answer, lest my enemy claims victory. The writer is stating that without immediate divine intervention, the darkness will win. Everything changes in verse 5 with a single word, but. In the Hebrew grammar, this adversative wa signals a violent shift in the entire poem. We move abruptly from the threat of death to a declaration of trust. Even though physical circumstances haven't changed, the enemies and dangers still remain. Klaus Westermann and John Goldingay observe that this shift happens because of an internal realization. The psalmist reaches a conviction that their prayer was heard. Goldingay describes this as the state in which hope despairs, and yet despair hopes. The movement from despair to trust happens through the brutal honesty of the prayer itself. Verses 5 and 6 complete the journey, moving fully into a song of praise. The final stanza employs a 3-dimensional theology. The psalmist looks backward to say, "I have trusted," acknowledges the present with "my heart rejoices," and gazes ahead with "I will sing." The anchor for this entire timeline is God's hesed, his unbreakable, loyal, steadfast love. This resilient faith is built by looking at God's track record in the past to find the strength to survive today and hope for tomorrow. God does not require you to sanitize your emotions before you pray. You can be terrified, shaken, and completely frustrated with the silence and still possess genuine faith. We can find a clear way forward by turning these ancient, honest words into our own daily prayer. Lord, there are days we ask, "How long?" The silence is heavy and the shadows feel long. Give light to our eyes. Keep us from the sleep of despair. Remind us of your steadfast love, so that our hearts might remember how to sing. Ultimately, true faith exists in the defiant act of remembering the light, even while still standing in the dark.